Alright, Olm turned 70. Old leper crawl here successfully empowered himself in death. That's good. I don't think this can fail. I'm not sure why. Yeah, I guess it just needs to let you know. I've never actually seen an empowerment fail. Maybe it's possible. Hopefully not. That would be very sad. Yeah, we had some arcane probing, and we missed, and it happens. Continuing to summon our stuff in, we awaken another Ivy King, so that's nice. Dire Portent, less nice. So Shaman Hood, Ur's God has gotten Stellar Focus, I believe this one's called. It's, they say, so not one of the more potent magic rituals. This is true. He just gets 5 additional Astral Pearls a turn, I believe. So that's bad, but, as globals go, that's okay. Not too worried about that one. And then we had some misses with our site searching, and then we caught some battles. So we caught a battle between Helheim and Marverni in this ongoing conflict. Typically small force from Helheim, really just, pretty kitted Ivy King here, and then probably, a slightly kitted Van Jarl, really just sort of like heavy raiders. And then, I don't know, maybe like kind of the remains, I think, of that previous army that we saw, because we've got, this guy, this Mound Fiend, definitely seen him before, Priest, and, just sort of assorted PD, I don't even know. Yeah, this guy, I don't think these guys' script has been changed, right? Because he's setting himself up as a communion master, but there's no communion slaves here, so I think this is just leftovers. And I think, these guys are going to have no problem, Ivy Kings maybe aren't the strongest, thug or super combatant chassis, but, not bad. All the vines are actually coming from this vine shield here. But yeah, they should be able to chop their way through this without too much trouble. Yeah, so, no losses there. And then Marverni loses the majority. Yeah, they lose the Mound Fiend, which is probably the most important thing. The Druid escapes somehow. But yeah, that's rough. And then let's see, we had a battle kicking Lanka out, the AI Lanka coming in, taking our provinces. This was just our covering force that was, keeping an eye on our fort. And they actually moved their mercenaries out, and, kind of this, I think this is a different thug, actually, with a bunch of research items. This is the computer, okay. He's dual wielding. That's, he's going to deal a lot of damage. This gives him luck, a little bit of poison resistance. Okay. We shouldn't have too much trouble. He did mist form himself. Yeah, and so I think there's some imps coming out potentially and some skeletons. So mist form will be a little annoying for our gargoyles because they do not have magic weapons. But still, I think, we do have some magic damage. And there they go. They got weapons of sharpness, and they should have gotten Strength of Giants. Yeah, they wipe somebody out immediately when they land. They got Strength of Giants as well. And so you can see there's I guess the 25 wasn't on the wasn't on the thug. And he is fairly killy with his 2 weapons. So that's a little freaky. We're getting all these 1s. This is due to mist form. And then even against our gargoyles, who do have, pretty good protection. But, this guy has good strength, really good strength, actually, and 2 weapons. And we don't have any resistance, really, to cold on the gargoyles. This is definitely hurting a little bit. Mist form is a bit of a problem. Once we pop the mist form, you can see he doesn't really last. I don't think the rest of this really matters. Yeah, just a little bit of undead that has no leadership now. So that was not totally clean. We do lose 3 gargoyles. That hurts a little bit. A few terracotta soldiers, that's fine. But, knock out the thugs. Definitely something to think about, mixing in a little bit of magic damage to help with things like mist form for our gargoyles is definitely going to help in the future. And we got Mistletoe Garland, so that's nice. Let's see. And then this battle is just Hinnom marching out. I don't think this is an interesting battle, but I don't think we've really seen this army yet. Yeah. So, he's still using these corpse constructs as a front line. We've talked about before. Good front line. Still no really protection to speak of. Hopefully he's got, some army-wide buffs now. He's got some of these clockwork horrors, which I don't think we've seen before. I have not used them a ton. I don't really like them. I don't like the idea of them, at least. They have kind of a rare thing. They have exhaustion. So I think this 15 at the bottom there, they take that amount of fatigue like every turn. So like, you know, they like wind up guys, right? So they only have a few rounds in them. And I mean, you know, they have 2 fairly high damaging attacks. Like their skills are decent, protection is good. They're kind of like mechanical men in that they have like all the resistances and, you know, mindless, inanimate, magic being, blah blah blah. But like this exhaustion is just really rough because it's like it doesn't take very long. It just seems like they're not going to do that much right before they fall asleep. Now, that said, again, I haven't really used them that much, so I'm sure there's probably some situations they could be useful, but anything that has exhaustion, I think you should be kind of cautious of, is my personal take. You know, a few of these warriors, a couple of these, a bunch of these Horite champions, yeah, you know, they're kind of like cavemen, better skills, I think, but, you know, good hit points, like, you know, attack density is okay, they hit hard, protection is a little low, they have 2 elemental resistances built in, so that's cool. You know, a few Dawn Guard, fewer than before, certainly, you know, a few of his giant sacreds in here, plenty of these Sairs, you know, really high damaging, we've seen them, some long dead, you know, just skeletons. It's kind of cool, like some of the, I think probably all the giant nations, when they do reanimation, some of what they reanimate are like giant undead, which are pretty cool. That, you know, have a lot more hit points than normal undead, and, you know, more strength, and yeah, kind of just like a cooler undead, and definitely better in some ways. Group of chariots on the flank, more clockworks, you know, some of these lightning throwers, more some devils. That's cool. This is a really good blood summon. They, you know, have some protection issues, pretty good hit points. You know, they definitely can die. Good attack and defense. Their barbed tail has like this paralyzing poison, so these guys are like really good like anti-elite or anti-super combatant, you know, thug kind of units, and, you know, they just deal a lot of damage anyway, so like, yeah, these guys can dish out the damage. We've seen these Magics before. Yeah, they're okay. You know, flying harassment is never bad. This is a little scary. He's got some of these fire drakes in the back here. You know, these are pretty cool, you know, sort of dragony units you can summon in, and they have like this drake fire, which is, you know, sort of like just a cone of fire that comes out. These guys are a great way to get some friendly fire down on your forces. Yeah, I forget, he may have fire resistance on his bless, and like these guys have some fire resistance, so he might actually be okay, but having these guys in the back is like a little freaky. These guys have? No, interesting. So they're demons, but they don't have any fire resistance. So anyway, yeah, these can be kind of dangerous, and this placement is maybe a little dangerous. So, you know, hopefully that doesn't bite him. One of these milk carts kind of kitted out, you know, super combatant-y, like a nature caster that's been boosted, you know, got some extra temporary gems from this item. Very expensive, but gives a really nice supply bonus. And then, yeah, just these temporary nature gems. Basically every battle, this caster is always going to have access to 2 nature gems, which can be really nice for like gem baiting and things like that, you know. So if you have some really critical spells that you want to get off, assuming you can get them off with 2 nature gems, this is like a way to guarantee that that's going to happen. He has some real gems on top of that. The temporary ones just show up kind of grayed out. But yeah, loaded up with nature gems and a nature booster. Yeah, like, I mean, a good amount of caster support. This guy, has a soul contract, which is similar but different than what's been summoning the imps. I think he just summons one of these devils like every turn on the strategic map, although I don't think it has any effect on the battle map. Well, I could be wrong on that. And a research item, and then let's see, this guy's got some air gems, not sure, maybe some air elementals, and yeah, this guy's a powerful earth caster, you know, with earth gems. So I mean, yeah, like, and he's got some blood slaves. Like, yeah, this army is looking really solid. Some of these cave grubs, and they're not very good, but you know, I mean, this a very damaging attack, but there's a good chance he's not going to land it. But they have really strong siege strength. right? So these are great at breaking walls down. So they're probably here. That's why they're here in the back, for siege strength. So anyway, they're just wiping out some PD. But yeah, cool to see this army. Excited to see it go up against Macone. So yeah, let's take a look. There were a few losses. One of them was like a Blackhawk and stuff. I do wonder. Not sure about these woodland spirits. Anyway. Yeah, like I wonder, the Fire Drake, the Fire Drake's got 8 kills. I mean, there's definitely 8 like PD here, but you do have to kind of wonder. It's a good chance there's a little bit of friendly fire in there, but nothing that this army can't handle. Not a big deal. And then there was a battle in Niflheim with the AI's continued efforts to break out. So it sent 2 Jarls out this time. So yeah, I think I called the other guy Niflheim's hero. This guy, who is a hero, but he's not like the hero. So you get these like heroic abilities, but this is actually just a regular Jarl. And then I mistakenly, I thought that the Awe was part of the hero chassis, but it's actually, if you get high enough leadership, I don't know where the breakpoint is. I think it's like close to 300 thereabouts. You get Awe for some reason. I guess you just command so many units that like, wow, this guy's really cool. So this Awe is actually coming from this leadership, but we've seen this guy before. He did manage to pick up a limp as well from his last battle, and he's still got his chest wound, but he's pretty kitted. He's dangerous. And then this guy actually is Niflheim's like official hero. You can get and show up and is like specific to the nation, and he has like slightly different paths than you normally see on Jarls, and he's got some boosters and plenty of gems. Is the AI at the helm, so who knows? But yeah, let's see if Helheim has reinforced. Not really from the look of it, right? Still just these great eagles. Slightly different kit from this Svartalf. So he must have picked up the monolith armor, from the Sea King that died, which is actually probably a bit problematic, because he's a spellcaster, so his encumbrance is 16, which is that's really rough. So I think he's going to be taking an additional like 26 fatigue every spell that he casts. So that's kind of unfortunate. Like, Helheim is super busy. This is like got to be like way low on his priority list. So he probably just missed that he'd pick that up. But maybe not, because like the Svartalf did have the elemental mastery staff, and now this Vanjarl does. So potentially this is intentional. Definitely that'll keep that Svartalf like pretty safe. It's a lot more protection than they normally have. So an ice elemental coming out, and then it looks like both of Niflheim's guys are going in. An air elemental coming out, that's probably why that Vanjarl had the staff. This guy's probably close to asleep, yep. Not sure what else he casted. Yeah. Phantasmal Warriors, there you go, a little horde of skeletons. Now he's going to be super asleep. Oh yeah, 170. So yeah, that's probably it for this Svartalf. So the air elemental is dangerous, but let's see, this guy, yes, still vulnerable to shock, but somehow they managed. This guy is not vulnerable to shock. That must be part of the hero chassis. But yeah, they got lucky. They didn't get stunned. These Vanjarls, no cold resistance. This guy was dangerous. I think this is part of the kitting that the Sea King had, right? This is what gave that chest wound, I believe. Yeah, resulting in a permanent chest wound. So yeah, this thing is really, really good, like anti-elite, anti-super combatant kind of weapon. But, they've fatigued out from the cold. So yeah, I mean, between the ice elemental, 2 Jarls, this is not good, right? I mean, last time it was just the 1 Jarl and he was pretty fatigued out, and there was the heat from hell, right? And it prevented him from actually like cutting through all the garbage to actually get to this group. Not the case this time, and these guys are fatigued out, right? So they're basically, yeah, everybody's asleep. Now, I mean, we've seen like, okay, yeah, let's see, I think this is, I don't know what that was from actually. Possibly he cast Charge Body on himself, but it definitely got both of them. But yeah, you know, the Jarl's cut through like pretty quickly, pretty effectively. He's going to struggle a little bit with this Svartalv with his 27 defense, but I mean, you know, he's so asleep, and like the Nifl's hit real hard. Now this guy's just beating him with a skull staff, which is not exactly the most damaging weapon, but I mean, he's a Jarl, so like it still hurts enough. Now he does get a little bit of regen also from this armor. And this guy might struggle a little bit because, you know, this guy's got the mirror image, and we've seen, okay, there goes the Svartalv. Not exactly a thug or super combatant chassis. You know, so putting the monolith on armor on him may have been accidental, or just, you know, it's like what he has in the province. But yeah, I'd say these guys are in trouble. So it looks like Niflheim just broke out here. Yeah, attacked and won. No casualties. Definitely hurts, you know, to lose this this force. I mean, it's small, right? But I mean, the Svartalv is, you know, not too expensive. He is slow to recruit, and I think capital only. But like, there's a decent amount of gear, like especially that staff of elemental mastery, like losing 50 gems. Now, I mean, that said, you know, I mean, Helheim has a million other things going on, right? So it's like, yeah, whatever. I'm sure this is like, they have much bigger problems. And honestly, like they're pretty big and pretty powerful. So like even losing like that 50 gem item is like, I mean, it's never good, but it might not, for me, it would be kind of rough. Maybe for Helheim, not as rough. And then, yeah, we had a raid here. I don't think this is particularly interesting, but I just love to see our Spectre in action. What is he up against? This is like a remnant ogre bodyguard, and then, you know, just a little bit of garbage PD. So he's just, you know, Iron Will. That can probably be done away with, because like, yeah, 70 fatigue, that's not great. But you know, he will drain it down pretty quickly, like as long as there's units he can connect with. And these guys aren't great, so he connects with them no problem. Yep, Spectres, they can work. But yeah, the Iron Will, it's like, you know, to boost his magic resistance, which isn't bad, but like realistically, if he runs into like a dedicated kill squad, he's probably screwed anyway. And it's not really going to help him against PD, so I don't know. I'm kind of back and forth on that Iron Will. Let's see here. And then, yeah, this was a battle in this ongoing Lanka war. And I don't think this one is, yeah, this is just an assault. But yeah, this is kind of the same army that we've been seeing. I don't think there's a whole lot. Yeah, there's nothing in here. But yeah, so I mean, you know, is continuing to look scary and, you know, just roll over AI Lanka, which is not surprising. Usually when people go AI, things aren't going well. Although, you know, you never know, and the AI, you know, can pull some stuff off. So, we had some unexpected events. The classic yellow mold, reducing our defense, our PD. You know, yeah, can't get rid of that mold. Some minus Dominion, not great. People might be getting sacrificed, and then, you know, reduced province income, of course. And we found a false prophet. Hooray, our patrollers, you know, doing some work. Unfortunately, our site searcher, who was set to retreat, retreated out of that province that we wanted to site search in, but at least he survived. So that's good. And then this was kind of interesting. This was like on our fort, and then there's like this small like little Hinnom squad that we ended up patrolling out. You know, I asked Hinnom about this. I think, you know, I mean, realistically, like he's not going to win this game. So I think, you know, he wasn't paying as much attention, and like this was, oops, that was the wrong battle. So yeah, so we just wiped out this little like kind of stealthy force. This was one of Macone's forts. So I think he probably just had this squad on here, you know, getting ready to raid it, and then just forgot about it. So we caught that and got rid of it. And this is not our ally setting up to attack us. So that's good. And some patrolling. All right, so what are we doing? Well, you know, if we analyze all of these movement orders, I think we can safely say that I really want Niflheim. Really want it. Should be ours. Really should be ours. So, you know, since Niflheim is broken out, diplomatically, we are free to take it. And of course, they are AI. So, I mean, technically, I still have a nap with Niflheim, but if there's no player, there's no nap. And that goes for the computer too. Like it definitely, you know, could just decide to attack. But of course, you know, since Helheim doesn't actually have a force on here, if we hop on it, you know, before he's able to get anything on it, I haven't declared war, like, right? I'm helping him out. Right? Like, he doesn't want Niflheim raiding around in his territory. And then we'll just help ourselves to this capital. So to that end, we have like this covering force here that, we're sending in with some axe warriors. I mean, really just kind of whatever we can pull together on short order. We got some chiefs with great swords and this should be enough, I think, to at least... The computer doesn't tend to patrol too much in my experience. Sometimes they'll hang out in a province, but it's kind of rare that they patrol forts. So I think, this force should be more than enough to hop onto the fort, lock it down, hopefully beat any people like sallying out. And then, we're bringing up pretty much everything else that we have, in terms of mobile forces. And so, we will just send those down and then hopefully assault and take the capital before Helheim can really react. This, of course, will annoy Helheim, but they're pretty busy at the moment. So Vanheim didn't move. So probably my concerns that he was setting up, to attack were unfounded, I'm guessing. It's still not impossible. I think, one or two more turns really, should make this more clear. But, right, assuming that Vanheim isn't attacking, which it's looking like he's not, like I was saying, it's kind of a good time to go in on Helheim anyway. And then this just really kind of gives us some additional cover because, if we show up here with an army, to siege this down and take this, Helheim, obviously you always need to worry and think about an army on your border, but our army has a reason to be here on our border other than just to attack him. Now, of course, the plan is to then turn around and attack him, which again won't be hugely surprising, but, might give us a little bit of extra cover, a little bit of extra time, before Helheim reacts in force, in addition to the fact that they're, hopefully really busy, which they do appear to be pretty busy. Because, Marverni has actually, pushed in. There's some deep raids going on here, so I may have been, too quick to judge that the coalition was failing. Obviously, anytime you're in a 3v1, that is a really challenging situation. And it's not all about winning battles, it's also about controlling territory. And definitely, Helheim still has a ton of territory, so, it's honestly, anybody's guess, as to where this is going to go. But, yeah, this is still very much up in the air, right? So if we can jump in, might be able to, provide the necessary weight, to finish this off. I love this. The computer, what? How the heck is Niflheim and, sieging Machaca, which is a good choice. This is probably some sort of remote attack spell. The computer just goes ham. It's just... So anyway, we're sending a scout to try to figure out what the heck. But anyway, so yeah, that's what all this movement is about. There's a few other moves going on. Shifting around our site searcher, shifting around this patroller. He just found that false prophet. So, moving over to have a crack at this province, which is just completely screwed over. We're retaking this from because he's moved through. Our agreement is up. This is our province, so we're just going to take it back. A small squad of actually a medium squad of axe warriors, and then we're sending our covering force back. Our palisades will finish next turn, so that'll be good. We'll be in a more secure position over here. Definitely want to try to keep an eye on this Baratos war, because obviously, Ur's war against Lanka is winding down. We do have a nap, but, we also share a really extensive border. So, definitely trying to keep an eye on and, it looks like he borders at least Pangaea over here. Kind of want to get a sense of how far does he extend? Does Baratos extend all the way along the coast? Just what's going on. Is now our concern. So trying to get, a sense of what is going on there. And then we are getting our first Wraith Lord. We're basically out of Death Gems. But yeah, we should be able to get one every other turn. So yeah, we'll take a look at them when they come in next turn. Let's see, awakening some more sleepers, probably to command some of our magic troops. Maybe gonna try to thug them. Let's see, let's take a look at the gear real quick. Yeah, not too much going on. We still have plenty of great swords left. A few boosters that we haven't deployed. Few, like this is what we're using to bring in those vine ogres, so just holding on to that for now. We're kind of low on nature gems, probably have enough vine ogres at this point. This is kind of just mage gear that don't really have a use for just yet, but some penetration gear and etc. like definitely will be useful later, and just sort of assorted like future thug gear. Like we have a bunch of these Rings of Frost from when Niflheim was rampaging around our land, and now they're just sort of extra. Again, kind of demonstrating that like these really narrow items can be kind of problematic, but good to have in the back pocket. So we'll see. Let's see. Is there anything else interesting? Research. Yep, the same. Like these high level, you can really see it's like trying to get up to like level 8, and like there's a lot of research. So once you hit the later researches, it can take a little while, to actually complete them, especially like level 9. And our research speed is still not great, but definitely has greatly improved. Like this is like maybe like approaching respectable. I don't know. It's a little hard to gauge because it's smaller than normal map, so it's not crazy that we're a bit behind. But I mean, certainly we can tell from what our peers have been casting, like we are behind in research in this game. But it is improving. So that's good. So yeah, I think that more or less covers turn 70. All right, Ulm turn 71, continuing with our summoning of various units, including our first Wraith Lord. Double Dire Portent, that's usually not good. So this is from Yomi, and it looks like, I can't remember which one this is, but this is a nature global, and it gives all of his units in his dominion additional health and ensures they heal afflictions. Better. Also very useful if you're going to go the Tartarian route, and I believe he has Well of Misery as well. We should double check that, but Tartarians are like the undead remains or spirits of previously defeated pretenders that you can summon in for death gems, but they're pretty messed up in terms of afflictions. So having some way to heal them, which I believe this does, is pretty useful, and you need death gems to bring them in. So both of those globals suggest that possibly Yomi is going for Tartarians, which is definitely a common like end game or late game strategy. So yeah, this is a pretty powerful global even aside from that. Because just all of his units in his dominion will get increased health. So attacking Yomi inside of Yomi's dominion is going to be a lot more difficult now. So yeah, this is probably one of the stronger globals that are out there, and not good to be seeing. And then let's see here. I actually forget which god this is. Let's see. Okay, this is Galegate. I believe that this is just air. Well, I say just air gems. I think it's quite a few air gems, and it may have some additional effects as well. But this is also, kind of a scary one. Air gems are pretty useful gems, and I think you get like 20. We'll double check. But anyway, this is also a pretty powerful global. So yeah, 2 powerful globals going up. At least not from the same person. So that's good, I guess. And in the meantime, we are not finding any magic sites. We actually had 4 profit declarations this turn, which is just unusual, but cool. There's definitely a lot of fighting going on. And then this is our first encounter, I think, with horrors. So this is the result of those magic lanterns that we've been giving to our researchers. And yeah, so eventually, it's tainted. Anything that's tainted is going to horror mark units. This guy's been holding this lantern for a while, and he's been horror marked, and here comes some horrors. These horrors are not, particularly bad, but you can see they have 4, pretty damaging magic attacks, like pretty good attack skill, decent defense skill, don't have a lot of hit points, protection is like mediocre. But anyway, and this is like one of the they're dangerous, but as horrors go, this isn't too bad. But for our unkitted warrior chief, like Iron Skin, good choice. Frozen Heart, also a pretty good choice. Like, yeah, it actually did like a lot of damage. You can see Frozen Heart, like good spell. But once the horrors close in, well, that's that. So this is going to continue to happen on and off as the downside of using those lanterns. I think as long as you're not putting the lanterns on really important mages, like absolutely worth it. So that guy was kind of a lamer one, right? Like he was just a 2-path mage, like yeah, earth water. Like we have plenty of those guys, so it's fine. Horrors eating our mages, no big deal. So we got some battles. Let's take a look at these guys. So this is Marverni attacking just all the boars. I hope there isn't. Oh yeah, no, they're up against an army. I don't even think we really need to watch this. Life After Death is kind of interesting. I don't think we've seen that before. I'm sure that's coming from Helheim. Any of his units that die now will turn into Solus instead, which is mostly incidental because Solus are pretty awful in combat. But if your mages die, they keep their paths. Now that said, I don't think there was really much army of giants or anything like that, so yeah, a lot of Helheim's units can get trampled, and it looks like the caster support is, significantly less here. I'm not sure what did this guy cast. Whatever it was pretty fatiguing. Okay, this is Life After Death, yeah. So yeah, he even took, damage from excessive fatigue, right? Because it's a very, must have been over 200 fatigue, which is kind of rough because like you get afflictions sometimes from taking damage like that. It's actually a way you can kind of ruin your casters, right? Because, if he was to take something like Feeble-Minded, he would lose all of his magic paths. So you do kind of have to be careful when you're like right at the edge of being able to cast a really fatiguing spell. You might pull it off. Maybe. Sometimes the mages decide like, nah, that's too dangerous. I have to say, I was saying we know exactly what's going to happen here, but these boars are doing better than normal. You can see the sea trolls, right? Like they can't get trampled. Thought maybe that guy was routing, but no, he just changed his mind about who he wanted to attack. Anyway, the trolls that can't get trampled are doing a lot better. The Hellherdings, because they haven't been, boosted up in size, are struggling a little bit more. But I mean, at the end of the day, like it's just boars. They really need help, I think. If they can't trample. So yeah, more losses than normal for sure, but I mean, nothing like particular, like a couple trolls, like whatever. Marverni loses a bunch of boars, which they obviously don't care about, so I don't know, maybe a good trade. They didn't take the province, so that sucks. And then there was a battle in Arcocephali. I feel like just about every turn there's a battle in Arcocephali. So we've seen this army before, definitely, from Helheim, and yeah. I'm not really sure what happened here. This is just a bunch of Astral 1 casters. It's a communion, maybe just going to do something like Doom, to curse everybody. Although this army might have been hit with that before. Like, oh, no, they haven't. So yeah, I'm guessing this is sort of a, the middle finger play. Let's see, I don't know. Some more communion stuff, body ethereal and luck. The imps, of course, coming in. Ethereal and luck, like that's going to help a lot against the imps. But I mean, these are just dudes in robes. So like, hurry up, guys. Whatever you're going to do, you better do it because you're running out of time. Luck, like that's great, I guess. Increases survivability, but to what end? Yeah, I mean, maybe the casting got interrupted, whatever the plan was. This is definitely a reason to bring out some chaff, right? This is actually a case where maybe some boars would have helped. Not a lot of boars, but enough to at least keep the imps off or something. Anyway, it's gonna take a minute to kill these guys, but I don't think there's any question about what's gonna happen there. Yeah, so I don't know, sacrifice of a bunch of astral casters. You never know. Sometimes, if you're trying to move like multiple forces from like different provinces into the same place, you can have like the movement of one of the forces cut, and then, so only half of your plan or half of your army shows up. There's really a danger of, having your forces split. Like anytime you're trying to combine onto like an enemy, province, or especially an enemy army, that is a really, really risky move that could really, really backfire. And that might be what we saw here, so there may have been more to this plan, and, something happened on the strategic map, and, now is just a sacrifice of some astral mages. So yeah, you do have to be careful when trying to recombine, in the face of the enemy. And then, yeah, this mummy, we've seen him before. He raids on, minimal PD. I feel like he's been in this cave before. He's just in and out of these caves over and over again. Let's double check. Yep, the mummy raids on. So there you have it, folks. And then let's see, this is just us taking back our province from just left, absolutely minimal PD. Appreciate that. I do lose an axe warrior, but, it is barbarians, so that happens. And then another battle, this time between Pangea and Helheim. Helheim just doing a lot of work here. They're a busy, busy player. So this just looks like a real minimal caveman raiding squad led by a minotaur. It's in a cave, right? So these cavemen, they do better in a cave. They have dark vision, so it helps a lot with their crappy like attack and defense, because everybody else's attack and defense is a lot crappier. Unless you're a hell herding, and you have spirit sight, and you're super cool, and you're an elf, and you're just gonna absolutely roll over some stupid cavemen. So yeah, that's how that goes. But yeah, not the craziest plan, to do some raiding with cavemen in a cave, but not against Helheim. And then there was a battle in Macone. This was the Helheim army that we saw last turn rolling out. And did did Macone come out to defend their capital? And nope, doesn't look like it. Not really. He doesn't normally get monkey PD, so he must have brought at least a little bit of garbage out. But yeah, there's not a whole lot here. I'm pretty sure his capital was sieged at one point. So he probably invested like minimal PD and, felt that, wasn't worth sallying out with whatever forces he has left, because he's probably going to be badly outnumbered. So, he's going to get the advantage of the gate if he stays at home. So yeah, this is looking good for Hinnom. Only one casualty this time. That's good. I don't even think it was self-inflicted, probably. So yeah, this army is looking good. Down to 181 now. But yeah, I think it's still going to be more than enough to take out, a very weakened Macone. And there was a battle in Machaca. This is great. The computer, I don't even know, I took a look at this battle ahead of time. So I was like, okay, so Helheim is bringing out, just as typical, here's some mages. He's got some, here's a Svartalf hiding out in here. I didn't even see him. They got gems, they got boosters, they got stuff. Helheim is always doing interesting things. The computer, what? How did they get a Jarl out here? I don't know. He's got some gear and stuff, and he's got a bodyguard. But yeah, clearly Helheim wanted to take this battle. I'm going to bet on Helheim. Oh, I missed a Sea King. Yeah, definitely going to bet on Helheim, over the computer any day of the week, even if it is a Jarl. And this is, a decently scary Jarl. Let's see, does this guy have... Oh, he fatigued himself out. Not sure, what was he casting? Lesser air elemental. Yeah, not a bad choice. Fatiguing spell. These guys, they just struggle right with the lightning damage. And this guy probably, oh no, he's got a copper plate. Very nice. Probably left over from the player. I'm going to assume any good moves coming from the player, not from the AI. Not that, the AI can get lucky and make some good moves. But yeah, here comes one of these Sea Kings. He's got this Flesh Eater, classic with the chest wound. We've seen that. This guy didn't manage to avoid. So yeah, just immediate chest wound. Fatigue is going to start to stack up. We have seen this story before, and he's got all this other stuff distracting him. So he's not going to focus on the Sea King. This Jarl is not nearly as killy, right? All he has is this Faithful. which is actually kind of a lower damage weapon, and he's only got the one weapon. It is nice because it gives him luck, so he'll be a little annoying to kill, right? Like possibly already there's a couple times he should have been killed, but 75% chance the killing blow doesn't go through with luck. And we are starting to get some freezes from the cold aura. Is our Sea King? He is cold resistant though, so he should be okay. Fatigue is a little high, but he has a lot of reinvigoration. Yeah, 8. So he is like super fatigue negative, which is really good. So I think he will have no problem unless this Jarl gets a bunch of lucky hits, which is pretty unlikely because he's just busy with skeletons, who also do not give a shit about the cold. So, yeah, and looks like he is running. Yep. And he's pretty deep in enemy territory, so even if he makes it off the field, I don't think he has anywhere to retreat to, and that is the end of that little Niflheim force. I have no idea how they managed to get a Jarl out there, but, hey, go for it. We bought some gems on the cheap, and we found a few gems, and then we finished our palisade, which is really nice. I always feel good every time the palisade finishes. You really don't want to have those knockdowns, so painful. All right, so what are we up to? We are trying to lock down Niflheim proper. So yeah, we saw this force before. We can talk a little bit about just positioning. So we just have a line of Vine Ogres here, and then sort of our Jarl killers who are hopefully gonna our chiefs gonna filter in behind. A few guys probably like Strength of the Giants, Legions of Steel. Not sure what this guy's doing. We have some of our gargoyle squads, with our guys that are going to do weapons of sharpness. And then this is our first Wraith Lord, who we just summoned in this turn. We threw a bunch of gear on him, including some boots of quickness. Right, so his map move is 32, which is super high. They're pretty good map move anyway. Generally, the undead have good map move. They don't really get tired, so they can move pretty far. When you throw boots of quickness on them, and they can move not quite twice as fast, I don't think, but a lot faster. So anyway, he can just cruise right on through this swamp, no problem. Join up with our force. He is off like a little separate because he's gonna throw up Soul Vortex, and we've seen our chiefs don't love that, so he's gonna stay over there, hopefully not drain our own units, but we'll see. His gear is it's okay, kind of what we just have at the moment. We weren't really planning on deploying these guys as quickly. But yeah, the Moonblade is very similar to the Greatsword of Sharpness. I think it does a little less damage. However, it does ×2 damage to magic beings. Jarls are not magic beings, so it's not really going to help us against Niflheim. However, it's not impossible that Helheim tries to teleport a Golem right on top of Niflheim to lock it down. Golems are magic beings, so if we do end up bumping, with a golem, something like that from Helheim, this should help us a lot in terms of taking it out. Like otherwise, quickness is just good on these guys because they don't suffer from fatigue, they don't build up fatigue being undead. A little bit of strength never hurts, and a little bit of reinvigoration does help because he will generate some fatigue from his spell casting. And then, I don't know, some shock resistance. I always feel better if my guys have shock resistance on them. Not really expecting any, air magic, but, Helheim has plenty of air magic, so maybe it's, some air guys cloud trapezing in, you never know. We have it, threw it on there. Probably not going to be relevant, but could be. So anyway, this is what we're sending, this turn, because this is what can reach this turn. We are also sending someone out. We're sending just some Axe Warriors to raid this back because it's independent, same sort of thing. Like diplomatically, we can probably get away with it. So we're just going to take it. There's some nice sites here, right? This is an Astral Gem or Astral Pearl, and this is a Death Gem. So yeah, and it'll get us some money. And then, we're bringing up, a bunch of other stuff. A few human troops, actually, starting to work those back in, just all the normal kind of stuff that we've had. Bringing it up because we may decide to continue this attack. There doesn't, we have a few scouts in here. I mean, we can see from some of the border provinces doesn't really look like Helheim has a whole lot over here, right? Like there's just a single crocodile who, nice try. We know that that's a mage. But anyway, it's just the one crocodile mage. Assuming that there's not like a huge host of elves, because, it could always be the case, but probably not. He probably doesn't have just a huge host of elves hanging out, right? Because he's pretty busy. So anyway, it doesn't really look like this is very well defended. So, we still haven't taken Niflheim. Fingers crossed. There are still, like, I think 2 Jarls here. Like, at least, this huge abductor, which is their hero, essentially a Jarl. We've never struggled with Jarls before, but we should be able to take Niflheim without too much trouble. And then if all goes well, then, we're gonna jump into this madness and, have Helheim teach us some lessons, no doubt. Otherwise, like, let's see, we've got some wyverns starting to build up. Let's see, how many wyverns are we at? Yeah, 18, like, we're getting there. It's slow going. We're just doing a little site searching with our guy who's summoning Wraith Lords, because we don't have enough death gems this turn, and, level 2, so sure, why not? Finish it out. Get that level 3. Or level 5 in this case, which I don't think really helps. Generally level 3, that's enough for site searching. Continuing to move like our main army, or what used to be our main army. Like really, this is probably kind of going to be our main army now, but this army that we were using, kind of against Macone, it definitely looks like Macone is done. This fort is cracked. So there's probably going to be a storm next turn, and that should be the end of Macone. So yeah, we don't really need our army over here anymore, so it's just heading out. Probably going to support in the attack, the eventual attack against Helheim. May hold it back, as a potential balancing force against Vanheim. And like is over here. We do have this covering force, but it's a little insubstantial. So yeah, we don't necessarily want to throw everything at Helheim, so we'll see. I can't remember offhand if this army kind of hangs out centrally and I hold it back, or if I throw it in, but certainly we don't need it on this border anymore. So yeah, a few other movements like pushing scouts around, want to continue. It looks like war against Baratos is going pretty well, which is not that surprising. Definitely seems like a competent, better than, they seem like a good player. They've been doing really well in a variety of wars. They're pretty large, certainly a lot larger than Baratos. I think has one additional, so they're a 2 capital nation, similar to myself. Not small, not insubstantial, but not as big as so I think Baratos is probably going to come away the worst of this, and is going to be on the defensive. So yeah, it looks like is pushing. Just kind of want to keep an eye on that. See what Baratos is rocking. See in action, a few other scouts here and there, probably like some sight searchers and stuff. This nice, anytime you see these like big old long arrows, I love that. That's like so many turns saved. And this is just, we've talked about these Boots of the Messenger. There's really good items, like this chief normally, like no way he can make a move like this. So yeah. Those items really help in terms of your logistics and give you a lot more flexibility. So strongly recommend those movement items. Research, probably going to be, the same, gone down a little bit as, we're pulling a few mages out to try to deal with Helheim, but still trying to keep the research, up. Like this isn't like a life or death war here. It could certainly turn into a life or death war, but at the moment we're hoping to just kind of pick up some territory like on the cheap. And so keep that research level, whatever, good for us. So still doing a little forging, here or there. But yeah, I'd say that covers turn 71.